I'm Zoe.
Hi, I'm Laura.
Hi, I'm Robin.
Hi, I'm Eddie.
Anna.
I'm Mel.
I'm Lucy.
And we've also missing a few crew. We're missing who we've left for the day.
Trish Patterson.
Sarah Perry.
Ellie Eccles.
Kirsty Reed.
And Emma Stewart.
Who are all taking the short route because they can't hack it. Welcome to the Tea and Trails podcast. Woo!
I can't give credit for that. That was Lucy made the call, but wow, but we amused ourselves greatly. Just did one take wonders.
I'm glad someone did it because we were rubbish. We mentioned it, didn't we? But we just didn't actually.
We went on a recce for our actual podcast for our actual race, and we didn't make an introduction.
We could have banked loads of intros.
We need to hire Lucy as some sort of like PA marketing manager because she's also come up with the next 24 guests for the podcast as well.
Excellent. But yeah, that is the last one. The cupboards are now bare, so please keep those intros coming. Email them to hello@teaandtrails.
Good.
Do you like that? .com.
Yeah, really. I really enjoyed it a bit too much. If you're like, oh, how do I email a voice note? Don't worry. Just email and I'll get Gaz's number on the Facebook group and then you can just WhatsApp him.
I can't wait for that. Please consider joining Patreon and supporting this podcast. It really is the best way to support us. For the price of a decent cuppa, you are the ones that keep the lights on and the mics hot. I always get it back to front. It's the lights hot and the mics on. New Patreon perk. I was all over this. I saw this brand. It must have been Jacob Tonkin's Instagram. And I just thought, yeah, little Rexy would look sensational in some of that merch. Patreons can now receive 10% off over at Feldog. Carolyn, the founder of Feldog, has over 20 years of design experience in technical clothing for humans. She is a self-confessed kit nerd and lover of all things outdoors. Feldog was forged in a wild moment on a Lake District fell. When the weather rolled in, Carolyn's dog Tilly was wearing inadequate gear for the harsh, wet environment they found themselves in. The storm passed, but Tilly's collar remained wet for hours and soon pretty smelly too. It seemed a basic design fundamental to produce a quick-drying, anti-stink-free solution, and that was the beginning of the design journey. And with that, the Feldog brand was born. Not just collars though, you can treat your best friend to a new lead, harness, toys and other goodies too. Check them out over at www.feldog.com.
My two twats will not be getting anything from feldog.com because I took off across a ploughed field after a hare.
So stressful.
Fortunately, the mud was enough to allow the hare a decent escape. And Lindy just turns and comes back. And Tarka realizes that she, on 11-year-old dog legs, has out-sprinted herself and is now in lactate hell half a mile away from me on the other side of a ploughed field and is like, it's going to take me a while to come back, Mum. I went inside, I made a cup of tea, I came back down the track. She's still going, oh my God.
What's that video on YouTube? Was it Nelson?
Benton!
That's it.
My kids think that. They do that every time. The dogs, I think their names are Fenton. Fenton. Yeah, hilarious in the moment afterwards, but not in the actual time when they are believing that they're sort of course hare racers. What are they? Are they greyhounds that can chase the hares anyway? Yeah. It sounds brilliant, but I'm afraid these two dogs, they deserve nothing but.
I never thought of it having a quick drying collar for Rex.
When they roll in fox poo, how bad do those collars smell? Oh, sorry. We started the podcast talking about our dogs. Thank you to X Miles Precision Fuel Hydration, Harrier Trail Running, Phoenix Light UK, SHOKZ and Protein Rebel for sponsoring this week's show. We use their products. We put week after week, but day after day to help us train, hydrate and recover. If you're listening and thinking, I listen to this every week, I just can't quite hear. There's just a little bit too much, maybe noise in my surroundings, or maybe I need to hear better. You are in luck, my friend. You can use the code TEA10 for £10 off over at UKSharks.com. We had a little search, Gary, before in one of our very interesting pre-podcast 3-hour Zoom chats. And we were like, what, if you're running the London Marathon or any of the big, I guess, road marathons coming up, what earphones can you use? And according to UK Athletics, bone conductor earphones are the only ones that you can use.
Thanks to X Miles for supporting us for 2025. Pop over to X Miles for all your nutrition and kit needs. They have lots of brands to choose from over at X Miles, and we love their nutrition planner. Loads of insights and articles shared too. Use the code TEATRAILS10 for 10% off over at www.xmiles.co.uk.
Links to all our sponsors, Patreon and the TM Trails Ultra Weekend can be found in the show notes and over at tmtrails.com.
Somebody's created a segment.
I know who.
Tea and Trails. You know who?
I know. See, you don't know.
Share?
It's killing him. Nope, you can't. I'll let him come forward.
Okay, reveal yourself.
Right, Gary, there was chat at the weekend about your training. I'm gonna say there was a chat about your weekly dates. Gary's addiction to running.
You would think that. I'm not addicted
I would
to running.
know it. I had a look back on your Strava, Gary, to look when you last had a rest day.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
So, because I was having a little look at, so I was like, he's put exhausted. And so I was like, he's had a rest day. He's had a rest day today.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. That's all I'll say.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. Do you ever just want to not have a day not running?
If it's after a race, I've got no problem. Say after Lakeland 100 or Old County Tops, maybe not Old County Tops, Lakeland 100, I could have a week, 2 weeks, no running. That wouldn't faze me whatsoever. So I'm not addicted to running.
You are in. You don't take rest. Rest is for weak people that need to recover and rebuild. Because even professional marathon runners take a rest day.
Does Kipchoge have a day off?
I absolutely would put my hands on my heart that at least once a month they'll take a rest day.
I'm not comparing myself to Kipchoge, just for clarity.
You just said, in all seriousness, you looked down the lens and you were like,
just went for the top.
We don't rest.
I am tired, but I expect to be tired. I'm training for a big race.
You're not. You're training for Old County Tops. It's like little fell race.
It's 9 hours. It's going to be an 8,
run up and down a
day.
hill. Yeah. I just did an hour's run with the dogs. That's proper. That's a proper run.
Fair enough. I do run every day.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these run streakers.
Twice
a day. You look at my average pace for a run with Rex.
Well, that's what we were laughing about, Gary.
Yeah, it's 12-minute miling.
Anyway, how are you feeling? What have you been doing? I'm trying to think when we've touched base this week. We haven't touched each other physically this week.
No.
Busy. Well, you're missing. You are tired. Better today than yesterday. And we had a late night last night. Well, didn't we? We were late. And do you know what happened when we finished recording? I went next door into the kitchen. Do you think my tea was on the table?
I would be furious.
Nothing. All cleared up. All gone away. Where's it? Where's tea?
So what did you have? What did you have for tea?
Where's my tea? Nothing. I was like, what's my tea? Oh, do you want something? Do I want what? Where's the pie? There's a pie and mash. What happened to that? Oh, we ate it all. We ate all the pie and mash. I was like, don't cry, Eddie.
Your lip was going.
Don't cry. I was offered an omelette. Do you want an omelette? What? An omelette? What, do I look like a woman who wants an omelette right now? I wanted the pie.
I want my pie.
I wanted the pie. I wanted the mash. I'll have a bowl of fruit and fibre then. Anyway, I won't complain because he did everything while I just sat back and chatted.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, how you doing? What you been doing?
Well, I am exhausted. It was a big week for me. Mileage-wise, it is huge. I don't want anyone to go, oh, goodness me, just saying 80 miles isn't huge. Not huge. If you were training for a road marathon, you could be doing more than that. But when you're on the trails...
Still huge.
It feels that kind of 70, 80 miles, I can do that without too much mental load. All the non-negotiables. I need a spotter, and I also probably need some advice on how you periodize your strength training as your A race approaches.
I think you could probably work that out yourself. You don't need help. You can
true.
just think, what should I be doing?
Yeah, but this is why a coach is great, because it removes all that second guessing, doesn't it? You just have somebody else
It's
to
not
tell you
second
what to do.
guessing. That's just sensible. That's just sensible. Well, do I want to be lifting full 3x6?
But I also
reps.
think if I do more reps, then that's more time in the gym. So that's why I'm kind of lifting heavy and less reps.
Gosh, I can't believe you have a voice to the public sometimes.
Well, yeah, don't
If I
follow
do
me.
more reps, I have more time in the gym and my Strava will be.
But I can lift the weights when I'm actually lying down on the bench, but getting them off the rack and then that first one up, that is a bit tricky.
What are you
and that
doing?
bench pressing dumbbells. So
Is
maybe
it
I use the
7.5
machine.
7.5 kg.
7.5 kg each.
Sometimes
arm.
I have to use my thigh to get the dumbbell up.
Yeah, that hoik. Hoik it up.
I just do the hoik, and then as I lay down, I go. I feel my core rip as I go.
But that bit's all really tricky, so I need a little bit of help with that. But once I'm going, I'm okay.
Yeah, and then I just like roll them off, and they crash down.
Roll
and
them
then
off.
just onto someone's foot or something.
But I might use the machines, because then you can kind of control that.
You can, but I do think you get better. I do prefer doing like chest presses and stuff with dumbbells, because I think you can move them as well to where it's comfortable. I don't like doing fixed weights.
But great, yes, I think I struggled with the non-negotiables the previous week, so to do my brew labs and my 2 sessions down the gym. 2 workouts, again, I'm just layering more and more on, even though the plan says 1. If Thursdays...
I'm so nervous about you and David Roach. I'm so nervous where this is both going for both of you. That
I know.
I layer.
But Thursday comes around, and I go to Thursday, it's quite relaxed, because I think, well, I've done my session on Tuesday. Let's see how Thursday goes. And I ended up doing them both, basically. So Tuesdays was really big for me. That was 3 times 15 minutes with 5-minute recovery. Each of those 15 minutes, I think it was kind of similar to something you did a few weeks ago, but
I'm
5
sure
minutes.
it was exactly the same, just that tiny bit faster at a lower heart rate.
Of course, it's faster. 5 minutes at 10%. And then I did 5 minutes at 8% and 5 minutes at 6%, increasing the speed every time. Then with that 5-minute jog, and then repeat. Because normally I'll just go back and do 10% and just smash it all out with 10%, but just have those different levels of elevation, incrementally reducing them. I enjoy that. And then on Thursday it rolled around. This was a proper blue collar workout in the dark, a little bit chilly, a little bit breezy in the industrial estate. Something popped up on my social media, and the question was asked, what's inspired you this week?
Eddie.
No, it wasn't that. It was when I reflected on the week, I was thinking, what's happened this week? And it was basically Thursday, 5 mates in the dark, running around the industrial estate, smashing
willies out, smashing your willies around,
wanging out willies.
wang, 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 wang.
10 times 3 minutes with a 2 minutes walkie rest. Everything I do is elevation based or on the trail, so there's no real metrics for running fast on something flat, and this was relatively flat, so I was pleased.
Full carbon shoes, lycra.
I had the Vaporflies on. Yeah, but the reason is I do have London Marathon coming up, and it's the first time.
I just love you. That's why I'm like, I had Vaporflies. They'd be on all the time.
The reason was because London Marathon is coming up, and it was the first time I've put them on since Manchester. So I thought, well, I better.
How did they feel?
Bit snug on my feet, but yeah, fine. No blisters, nothing like. Well, they are super tight.
Are they?
The Vaporfly, the Alpha Fly, whichever the shoes that Eliud Kipchoge did his.
Of course, your mate. Yeah,
sub 2
he
hours.
He handed them over to you afterwards in the changing room. Carrie, I'm having a rest day. You can wear my Vaporfly.
hold my Vaporflies. But I'm not going to lie, the build-up, especially on that Monday, Tuesday of the week, yeah, it's taken its toll. I'm super tired. Finding the climbs hard on Saturday. I'm hoping when the taper comes around that everything slots into place. But yeah, it's no fun, blowing out your ass, hoping that nobody is going to ask you a question.
That's what I do every day. And that's when you ask the leading question to people. Tell me about your time from ages 6 to 19. But
Reese, one of the guys in the group, Reese, could be half my age. and it was quite demoralising just seeing him skip
off he goes
into the distance. Yeah.
That's when I take photos. I'm like, just taking photos, guys. My steaming up my lens.
But it was a lovely route on Saturday. If anybody's interested, it was a bit of an all-county tops route.
How are your calves? My calves. Oh.
I was thinking, well, this was more, we went up to Steel Fell later on in the day, and yeah, my calves were protesting going up Steel Fell. And then we did a stride and edge loop, which is completely off the all-county tops route. We just thought we'd do that. Then went down the fell side to Thirlmere, crossed the road, and it was an absolute filthy climb up to Steel Fell. It was about 1,200 feet of elevation in probably just over a mile. Round, I'm throwing out these names if people know where they are, but then round to Cough Crag and headed down back to the car, 16 miles, 6,000 feet of vert, and I hammered my legs coming off Helvellyn, and then that last descent before we got to the car, because so much of my sessions are on the treadmill just to see how the quads responded to that. And yeah, super tired, but no DOMs. I didn't have a rest day. I ran Sunday and I ran Monday, and I've already ran today too. So yeah, I'm tired, but no DOMs. So I'm quite happy with the balance of my mileage on the treadmill. I was just a bit worried that how am I going to feel. And I got I never get a trophy. I got a trophy in the Lake District coming down this descent. Where's it at? I'm trying to think. It was Gibson Knott to Guildford. They've got this lovely zigzaggy path. Got 9th on the leaderboard. Normally I'll get a local legend because you can just get those quite easy if you do the same route over and over and over again. But actually being a chart or a trophy, especially not on my back
chuffed.
door. Absolutely, Boomer. It must be a soft segment for someone like myself.
How many people have run it? 9.
Yeah, 9. But it was good, really nice just to see so many people out. Saturday was a belter, probably up and down the country, just see so many people. We spoke to Julie Carter last night, and the interview is going to come out in a few weeks. And I think I asked her some tips for people who are thinking about dipping their toe into fell running, maybe a little bit of map knowledge, because if sometimes the shortest line isn't the easiest line, that map would tell you the contours led to quite a spicy climb up to Steel Fell. But yeah, my poor calves were screaming. Sunday was easy 11. With some of the wrecks, some with friends, and a cuppa and a scone afterwards. That was nice. Back to doing some shoe reviews, if you're interested.
I saw some filming. I wondered what you were. I thought you were just filming yourself.
I've got 2 shoes reviewed.
Wanging around the woods. Wanging around.
The Scott Super Track RC3s and the Scarpa Rebel Run 2s. Now, the Scott Super Track 2s, oh my goodness me, that shoe has been around for...
it's a good shoe.
5 years. So this Super Track 3 RC3, that's got big shoes to fill. It is a bit of a spoiler, I suppose. They served me really well on that day. We are in season 5 of Yellowstone.
There's a season 5. It's still going to be going on in the background as I'm trying to do my work.
I am enjoying it, and I think season 5 is probably the limit. I think it's about right for how much attention you can give something. And I think the problem for me is, hopefully this is not a spoiler, even the real horrible people in the program. I remember Sopranos. I love Sopranos, and Tony Soprano was a monster, but you still could feel for him. You still could root for him in situations.
Okay.
There's people in Yellowstone.
Deep into this.
I know there's people in Yellowstone I just got no connection with whatsoever, but yeah, still enjoying it. Good week, still moving forward, ticking all the boxes. Apart from, I am a lazy eater. Lots of beige food consumed by Gary.
What's beige food?
Well, just toast, lots of toast, lots of peanut butter. Yeah, we had Smiley. What did we have for dinner?
I love
we had veggie toad in the hall with veg and had little smiley face potato.
I love a beige meal, at least 3 nights a week. If I don't get offered an omelette, I'll get a beige meal down me.
Every week, every Sunday night, I think next week's going to be better, Gary. Next week's going to be better. I just bread. Coming home from the lakes, I bought this really expensive loaf of sourdough. I ate it in about 2 days. I don't think anybody has a look.
Yeah, the sourdough is dangerous. A loaf of bread, I scare myself that I'll buy it because the kids like just, your processed supermarket.
Yeah.
And frankly, if they're eating 8 pieces, they can eat a processed supermarket. And I buy a nice sourdough and then I'm like, I've eaten the whole thing in 2 days. Where's it gone? Straight on the cheeks, Gary.
Straight on my gut, yeah. I've had to delete quite a few photographs that I took over the weekend. Not sharing those ones. Not sharing those chins. But I appreciate people reaching out, concerned about my training or mocking my training.
They weren't concerned. There was no concern. We were just like,
You know what? If I come away with the sub 24 hours,
Yeah, baby Kate. You can all go.
I'm going to be looking at all these people's Strava.
You
see what
jog
they're up
past,
to.
well, you're going to jog past half those girls in Lake 100 going, yeah, see?
Yeah.
If you,
no rest
me and my
days.
vape have lies, no hashtag no
Kipchoge, David Goggins doesn't take a rest here.
David Gunn, look at him. What a legend he is with his shin splints and his nipples. Do you run around Wingate with your top off making videos saying,
That
if you're
would
not
trigger
up
me.
by 4, the day is over, guys? I've got a question for you, Gary. Gary Thwaites, would you do a 12-hour round trip drive to go running with mates?
Your 12-hour drive was longer than my training week, so
I spent more time in my car than running.
I would struggle.
didn't.
I am blessed. I've got close
I know.
friends who live close to me, and we all love going to the lakes.
I played the guilty card when they were like, we got back to the car park and we're like, hour 40 home. And I was like, next time you're all coming to Scotland and then you're all driving back. And I'm going to say, oh, I've already been to the supermarket by the time you got home, done my shopping, washed, had a shower.
Fair play, you did that. Fair play too.
I did it. Yeah, I did question on the Friday, trying to get ready to go. And the kids are really super busy. Anyone's kids who are sporty, the weekends are like not a relaxing time. In fact, it's much harder work the weekends parenting than the week, because the week you just drop them at school and if they've got their homework and then you pick them up. Friday, I was trying to get everything sorted for all the different sporting activities, signed off, everything signed off. Plus, I wasn't taking my laptop. So normally I do a lot of work over the weekend as well. So I had to try and get work like at least and lots of athletes doing incredible races. So getting like, oh my gosh, I was like, then I couldn't leave until quite late on the Friday night because I promised my eldest son I'd watch him in his rugby match. And he did say, Mum, you can just go to your hotel while I play rugby. So I couldn't leave till late. And then I decided I'd drive halfway because 6 hours and then a 50k run felt that mean getting up at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Even
anyway.
3 hours then a run.
That was okay. I could do that because I stopped. I suddenly pitched, didn't I, at Greg's and had some dirty pastries and a cup of tea. So that was okay.
You let me down though. Your Greg's was shocking.
How could you say that to my face?
A croissant?
I did the best I could.
And a
croissant?
cheese pasty?
No, that wasn't. I didn't even have a cheese pasty then. That was
Okay.
at the next place. I had a porridge. I had to run
Oh,
50k.
who goes to Greg's and another porridge? What kind of a monster
I
are
do,
you?
Gary, and I'm proud of it. And it wasn't even big enough.
Yum
because then-
yums, pink jammies.
I should have gone. I didn't want to hit
Devon
the sugar
bun.
train too early, but by about 10k into the run, because obviously I'd been up so early, so I was super hungry, because when you get up early, your
Yeah.
cortisol starts rising even earlier, and I was like really hungry. Obviously, Robin had planned the route, so there were tea stops, cafes. I knew the Ks, but she was like, so if we add on extra Ks, we can drop down to the pub, and there was like a bit, and I was like, yes, yes. Extra Ks, Coke, crisps. Anyway, so yes, it was. I did think, what am I doing? But of course, it's always worth it. It's hard when you know you're going to do loads of miles over a weekend, because you don't want to, even though we're not going at high intensity, you don't want to go into a weekend being trash, because then you won't enjoy it, because your legs will be.
Yeah.
But I still wanted to get a workout done and my heat training done and my plyometrics, but I didn't do any heavy lifting, which I need to get back into now. Hold me accountable, because my back was not happy with carrying weight, because we carried our overnight stuff, even though I didn't think I took much weight.
If I neglect those strength exercises.
A little bit of neglect, so if anything. So I crammed my 3 heat sessions in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which isn't the way to heat train as well, because my core app is so disappointed with me now, because I've had almost a week off, and it's like...
I'm not allowed one, did I tell you?
I know.
She's said no.
This is not questions you ask for this sort of thing. Surely you learn this. This turns up on the doorstep and you say, it's for the podcast, which is
I
not
could
a
sneak
lie.
the core in. I couldn't sneak the tent or the blanket.
No, you don't have a garage, do you? So
No.
you can't even...
Sad times.
The tent is collapsible, so it doesn't live. You can like put it in a bag.
Yeah. I just
She's
think
not
it'll be
having any
trouble.
of it. You could
She said it's a fad.
outside.
It's a fad.
Let's get her on the podcast. Let's get her on the podcast. Anyway, she's probably right. Yeah, so I crammed everything in. I was disappointed with myself. I didn't do my lifting, because I think my lifting helps my back, like just weekly. It just reminds my back, because I have this disc in the bottom of my back, which is only happy if I lift heavy weights and move it, basically. And I didn't do that last week, and then I paid for it a bit on the steep climbs. Anyway, and the bag I chose, I made some some poor decisions. Anyway, I did a great speed training session. I think I may have screenshotted it and sent it to you to say, look how fast I'm doing. I was running so fast and I was pinging along. I went past, do you go past the same people on your dog runs and dog walks in the mornings, like at the sort of same time? Guy with the yappy dogs and yap, the dogs go. And I thought he must be really impressed. He must think, gosh, she is flying this morning.
Exactly what he was thinking.
Little bit of pee coming out because I'm just going downhill at the same time. Anyway, I was doing some longer 8 minutes, 6 minutes efforts. And then we did about 3. And then Taka went, I'm out. She touched out quite early on, I felt, into the session. I think she needed the vapor flies. And I said, but we've still got 3 more to go. We stopped by a stream. I put her in. I said, let's have a moment. What do you need? And she was like, Mum, I can do an 8-minute mile. I can do a 9-minute mile. Anything with a 6 in, I'm not here for it now. I can do a couple, but I've peaked. So I said, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. This is like your training partner. We'll do 3 minutes. So we'll break it down so you can have a little rest. I was like, that's inspired. She was happy with that. Flexibility. It's all about flexibility in the training plan to fit in with your dogs. So I said, we'll do 3 minutes effort. So we did 3. Oh my gosh, I've not worked that hard. And then at the end of this run, I'm going to call it a 50% climb. It's probably about a 20% climb. There's a really short little track. It absolutely kills me. Even jogging up it, I'm like, so I thought I'm going to finish the last effort going up this climb. And then I'm not allowed to stop at the top of the climb. I have to run to where they store the grain because that is like the true end of the hill. And I'm going to see how high I can get my heart rate to go up this climb. I was like, are you in, Taki? Also, because it's uphill, she's happier because I'm going so much slower. We went up this climb, 172 heart rate, Gary, at the top of this climb. 172.
I'd have stopped if I saw those numbers. I'd have slowed down.
I've not been able to push myself that. And I didn't really feel I was pushing. I just had it in my legs. I was just like, I loved it. Then 2.5 mile cool down. Too long, Gary.
Oh.
Too long.
Kudos. I've done workouts where I just had so much fatigue, I couldn't get the heart rate as high as the workout wanted. To get yourself to 172.
I was impressed. I mean, there was no oxygen in my body. Yeah. There was nothing but lactate. And then I do this. I was like, well, let's check my emails. I'll just check my WhatsApp. Because I was like, I can start jogging again. I can't start jogging again. I was so tired. And then I was like, we finished this. We've done too big a lap because now we're such a long way back to the car. Come on, team. Let's do this. And I hadn't taken any fuel or water. And I was like, so I was thinking of all the ways I could cut through to I could cut across that field to get back to the car, cut across that field. But anyway, I was happy with how I felt, but I decided I was just going to do one workout because then I go and look at how long I spend in zones, in the heart rate zone. And there was quite a lot of time in that unidentified death zone, as I call it. But I was happy. I've not felt that good running for a long time. Friday enforced rest day because I was so busy, as I've said. Anyway, we had a fab weekend running with all my pals, and Robin was in charge of choosing the route. She chose an incredible route, and were we not blessed with the weather from the Holy Gods? We didn't have a cloud, not a breeze. It was the perfect running temperature. Magic. I'm afraid though, Gary, I did get a little bit cold when I had to stop to have my ice cream and my flake. And that just took me a slight edge off. They say
nurses have it tough.
I got a little bit chilly waiting around the van for him to make my tea. I was like, can you hurry up? I've not laughed so much. Nicker wetting, laughing so much. I won't share the story because I feel like otherwise people won't be my friends. Because they'll be like, everything that happened that he's talked about on the podcast. There were some hilarious shenanigans. The noise level of us all together. The woman, we stayed at this lovely, it's not a youth hostel, but it's like a sort of, you can bring dogs. We just walked through in our muddy trainers, but it was lovely. Ooh. And we were sitting outside when we arrived, and the woman said, I'm just going to shut the door because the noise, even after 50K, the noise of us all there was always talking, so much dogs, so much laughing. It was great. It was great to spend time with our Brew with the Coaches. Trish, she has rehabbed that knee. Do you remember we talked about how she was sad about her knee? She was on fire. She was leading the pack. She was climbing, jumping. She was incredible. She's all heat training. You see, maybe she should have a chat with Lisa. And it was just really nice to spend time with, we compared. I was running downhill. I was like, oh, my knees. And then to hear other people go, oh yeah, my knees. But I did realize, Gary, I am definitely the oldest used up, washed up person that, I feel like I'm not. And then I realized that I'm 10 years older than most of those girls in a different stage of my life.
Hard
physically.
reality. I think Reese and Gary, the youngest people in the group, they sometimes just say they're feeling tired. I think it's like out of sympathy, just so we...
So they make you feel
just
better.
so we all, yeah.
I was like, Robin, do your knees hurt too? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, good. And I'm like, I don't think that's what I just say. Anyway, I will tell one little story. I can see why Lucy Gossage is the spine champ and the 14 times Ironman winner that she is. So we had various route options because we had dogs with us and people were a bit worried, like 50K was a bit long for the dogs, but back to back. And then we were running again the next day and it was hot. Anyone running with their dogs knows when it goes from winter to spring, dogs suddenly go, oh, I'm not ready for this. And they've got no pacing ability. Trish was a bit, her knee was fine, but she didn't want to push it. The longest she'd run, I think, was 17 miles. And we'd passed that miles ago when we had our last cafe stop. This isn't chore running, by the way. This is purely pleasure running, but it's still a lot of miles. So it is still quite tiring. So Robin said, right here, we got to like about 10 miles to go, I reckon. And she said, you can either go 10 miles or 6 miles, I think it was. And Trish said, oh, I'm definitely going to do 6. So I said, well, I'll do the 6 with you, Trish. I was a little bit tired. I'm happy. I'll do the short version. Lucy was like, no, we are here to run 50K. We will run 50K. Shame on you, Eddie. Shame on you. You come with me. I went, 50K. I was like...
Love it.
I am a slacker, Gary. I need to be more likely. I was too ready to go. Yeah, I'll go back now and back to the night, have a nice shower and a cup of tea and pizza.
Oh, I like the sound of Lucy.
And Lucy was like, we are here to run 50. We will run 50K. So there was a breakaway group, Gary, and I won't name names. I won't say who cut it short. But the splinter group, there was a lot of, well, let's just say the splinter group, I think we had better fun. There was a point on the last hill when I said, Robin, I'm going to need your sweets right now. Running with Robin, Emma Stewart, Lucy, Zoe Murphy, Ellie Eccles, and Eddie. Robin, can I have a sweetie, please? Shall we take a picture? We've just taken one, Eddie. Oh, okay. Anyway, we were so blessed with the weather. The route, the Peak District. I've done like bits and bobs in the Peak District, but never, we literally ran the Peak District. It was incredible. Brilliant. And like you said, the amount of people out, but Robin had done such a good route. So we did all the good, great, the lovely views and everything. And then we would run for miles and miles and miles across fields and tracks and not see anybody. It was such a great route. I recommend it. And so nice. So was it worth my initial question, 12 hours in the car?
100%.
It fills my cup with joy and love. I can't go on the next one. They're going abroad, Gary. They're going on tour.
Oh, wowzers.
Can't do that. They're actually 12-hour drive. It's probably the same on a flight, but I just feel I have so many credits that I can use. The last thing I'll say about that is lots of the girls are like, how is it all right? Can you leave the kids? Like, is your husband pretty good with the kids? And I'm like, that is, I think, the biggest love action you can do for your wife, your husband or your partner or a friend or anything is when I go, I can't do it. There's so much to do. And Bryn just goes, go. And there's never any, what is it word? Repercussions. There's never any like, well, you've been away. None of that. There's no judging. There's like, get out, go. Did you have a good time? We were all fun. There was only one mild case of concussion and we sorted that on the Sunday and he was all right. I worry too much, I think. I worry too much and it's all absolutely fine. The Hoover's red hot. The washing machine's red hot. The dishwasher's on when I come back. I dread to think if I came back a few hours earlier, but it's all squared away. Everybody's alive. Everyone's watched Yellowstone. Evie's traumatized. It's all great.
18 certificate.
So I didn't do as much workout. I didn't do as much workout as you, but it was a big volume for Eddie, but it was great. But man, oh man, was I tired when that alarm went off on Monday morning. What? You want to go to school? Oh man.
How's your ring though? How's your ring?
My ring is not happy. Oh my God. All weekend it was going, alert, alert. You are in a dangerous place. Monday morning it said, you need to sit and meditate and do nothing else. Shut up the ring.
I just ignore all that. I only listen to the good noise.
Let's get the coaches in. Let's get some proper advice.
Thanks, Precision Fuel and Hydration, for supporting Brew with the Coaches. Their website and newsletters are such a good source of knowledge, articles to read, and YouTube content to binge on too. On YouTube, you can learn how to fuel an ultra marathon and what pro runners carry on race day and how to nail your marathon prep. That is super important. Where are we at now? Coming up to the middle of March. This is the trenches for all you marathon runners. I feel quite smug at the moment because Old County Tops is
You are quite smug. You have an air of smugness
9 weeks.
about you.
9 weeks away. Lakeland 100 is like, whatever. But yeah, if you're training for London or Manchester Marathon, or is it Rome? That's, goodness me, that might even be next week.
All my athletes that did well at the weekend in their races, obviously the coaching plan, sensational. The running, getting them there in the greatest shape. If you have a good fueling plan and strategy and you can take on more than 60 grams of carbs an hour, it makes such a difference to the back end of that race. And just having it all planned out. See, listen, I give such good advice. And I go on a double header weekend with a couple of 90-gram gels and some sweeties and a hot cross bun.
If you would like to try Precision Fuel and Hydration, then use the code TEA102025 for 15% off your first order. And if you are a Patreon, then you get a whopping 20% off. Head over to Patreon for all the deets. This week's question comes from Hannah Curry. She would like some help with pacing. This week's question comes from Hannah Curry. I would love some advice on pacing my first 50k. I'm a 35-year-old female who started running in January 2024. Oh, that's sensational. The cookie jar is there. All these new races to do. I love that. People who are just starting their running journey. I have since completed a couple of half marathons and will be running the She Ultra in April. Whilst I'll be happy to simply complete the distance, I am driven by pushing myself and seeing what I'm capable of. So I'm not looking to cruise around. I'd love to know how the coaches would have a first time runner approach this. I have a 32k race booked about a month before the 50k as my hardest training run. My plan tells me to push the pace here so I can try some race strategies. Thanks so much, Hannah Curry. Hannah, there's a conflicting sentence there. I'd be happy to complete, but then I'm driven to push myself.
I think that's every runner's, isn't that every runner's dilemma?
The runner's dilemma.
I want to do my best, but I also want to make sure I finish, and it's that fine line. And I think a lot of that comes with experience as well, Hannah. So like Gary said, your cookie jar is full of delicious cookies. You've got a mixture between the chocolate, you've got the oat and raisin. Don't jump in too much. Learn your trade, learn your craft a little bit, because you simply cannot know what is pushing and what is pacing until you've been there. Like we always say, you don't know, you weren't there. You've got to throw yourself in there. And I love that you want to do that. Make sure you tick off some boxes on the way, like with the 32k race. Trish and I have already discussed to answer this question. So you're going to get two different answers as well, Hannah. So I'm going to be one answer and Trish is going to do the other one. And then like all these things, just like teenagers, you listen to the bit you want to listen to and you take away. But I would say one of the biggest things is as you step up into ultras, the first few need to be all about the finish. How can I get myself to the finish? If you're thinking of longevity, in the best shape possible, because the last thing you want to do, and which is what we see all the time, is like little sparks of flames, and people do really well for like 2 or 3 races and then they disappear because they've done too much, they've gone too fast, and then they get injured. So don't be scared to go to finish races and go, I still had some left in the tank. These are building blocks, and I can still push a little bit more. So tick off all the little things that are going to help you do that as well, especially with this 32k race. And Trish and I are going to have different approaches here. I would run that at your 50k pace and dial in your fueling. What can I fuel? Because that is the biggest thing. What can I fuel? How am I wearing my kit? Where's my fuel going in my kit? Am I happy? Am I happy with my shoes? Am I happy with my socks? How do I feel? Do that as a confidence booster. If you push that 32k race too hard, you can't get the nutrition, and you might come away going, how the hell am I going to run 50k? You might then as well wipe yourself out for 2 weeks afterwards and miss that training. So I really would use that as a training block. And then as for the 50k, enjoy it. It's your first one. Tick off the things. If you fuel well and you pace it well and you keep in control of your effort, you don't need to think, I need to push. You're going to do as well as you can at that time with the fitness that you've got. And then you can go on, and then the next one you can go, right, well, I felt like this, I felt I had more, and I wasn't very strong up the hills. Don't think that this one has to be perfection. Use them as building blocks as well. But what I love, Hannah, is I love your the mental approach to this. And you're thinking, you've planned a little race strategy. I love it. You're stepping up to 50K. I'll let Trish add what she thinks, but let us know how it goes.
Yeah, Hannah is on it. She is on it. She is all the way in. For this. Just firstly, I would just say Eddie is absolutely spot on and absolutely right.
She is, obviously. Can we just get that in a little clip, Gary, please? And I'll just play at my teenager's bedroom door. Have loudspeakers.
Trish thinks I'm right. But I would just offer an alternative view, because the alternative
Love it.
are also good to have as well. So you absolutely do want to be treating the 32K race as a build-up race, obviously. So I would say that one of the strategy you could do is to run the race, I would say steady. Basically, look to push maybe in the last 10K, and that would help you in terms of almost think of it as like a progressive run. You want to stay steady. It will help you to dial in your kit, dial in your nutrition, ensure you hold your pace strategy so that you've got a little bit more in the tank going through at the end. So I definitely think, it would be helpful for you to push the pace a little bit here, but I would hold that maybe for the last 10K so that you run it strong and you feel good when you finish. The key thing is if you push the pace too hard, it's the recovery afterwards, which is it's going to be impacted. It's a month before the 50K. You definitely could push the pace here, but you don't want to push it too much. That's the thing. And so it's getting that balance. Do the race, see how you feel, and have your priorities. Your priority is that you feel good going through the race. You do your nutrition well, you dial in your kit. Those are your absolute priorities. If you're feeling good and you're consistent throughout the race, you can push at the end, let's say maybe look at the last 10K and to increase your pace, but you don't want to be pushing beyond your capacity. Okay, so you want to be working, this is hard, you want to feel like you've given it some at the end of the day, but you don't want to cross that fine line of pushing too far so that it's detrimental to your 50K in the future. Other than that, I think it would be great.
You've got to be flexible on that 50K though. It'd be a shame to, go too close to the red line and then it turns into a death march. That's, let's say, 10K as opposed to what could be an incredible day. That would be a horrible memory to come away with, that it sort of kind of fell to pieces.
And that's why pacing strategy is so important, and doing these races and making sure, like we've all said before, like dialing your nutrition in, making sure that your kit works. That's super important. But the key thing is with pacing strategy is making sure that you're consistent. Mostly, you've got to be consistent with your pace strategy. So if you get your pace strategy right, you can run a stronger race. You're stronger at the end. Obviously, that the further you go on, that's stronger at the end thing kind of dials up a little bit because we all look horrific and near dead. But for a 50K, like that would be ideal, really, and it will give her a good foundation to how that feels. Certainly towards how she, that fatigue in that last 10K of a 32 would be a good indication as to how she might feel towards the end, or the bit where she has to dig in on a 50K.
It sounds like a great first race, actually, the She Ultra, because it doesn't like a UTMB where it's all kind of full of hype and adrenaline. I think it's quite a chilled out vibe. So
I think the She Ultra races will have a fantastic vibe. I think they'll be amazing, and I can't wait to go.
Good luck with She Ultra, Hannah, and the 32K race too. If she said it's a month before She Ultra, that race must be imminent. We'll be scheduling a meeting with the coaches soon. So if you have a question, pop over to teaandtrails.com, fill out the Google form via the Brew with the coaches button on the homepage.
This week's main interview is sponsored by Phoenix Light. Don't forget, Patreons can enjoy 10% off over at www.phoenixlight.co.uk. My favourite bit of the podcast coming up. The best design comes from the actual needs of users. Phoenix takes providing mobile lighting products with excellent performance as the goal and born for harsh environments as its mission. Never, Gary, never forget where you started. And your mission can be accomplished. Took my Phoenix Light on a trip around the Peak District. Didn't need it. No, not at all, but it enjoyed its walk around the Peak District with a bit of trotting thrown in there.
Imagine if you needed it and you didn't have it.
When I was like packing my bag and I was like, I'm not going to need this. And then I thought, all you got to do is Trish fall over and break a leg.
Yeah.
And I would be the first aider straight on call, saving lives, legendary podcast host, also lifesaver, and I would need my light.
The postie should be delivering us some new products to take a look at. So yeah, Phoenix.
How can it get better? How can it get better than that? This week we spoke with Keith Wigley and Hugh Chatfield. Early in the year, they both podiumed at the Arc of Attrition 50 by UTMB. Incredible running, some great stories from both of them. We did record this a couple of weeks ago. That's just the way the diaries were scheduled. So sorry it took so long to get this episode out, but I think you'll agree it's worth the wait.
Keith and I have also got a WhatsApp back channel happening on the side here, just in case.
We also have the same. Ours is already full of emojis, all rude ones.
The aubergine. Classic.
The opening emojis.
We didn't really meet you, but 2023 Dragon's Back race. I remember.
Yeah. Did we not cross paths at all, Gary? Because I know you.
Well, you went.
You
past
must
me.
have gone past him and slapped his ass and gone, woo!
Yeah. Hurry up, Gary. Yeah, I think every day, bar day one, yeah, I saw you glide past me. But what I did, I thought was amazing. I can't remember the guy. There was a few of you at the kind of pointy end of the race, and I loved it at night. I think one of the guys, I'm not too sure which country he was from.
Jacob from Poland.
He had no course intel, but I thought it was great. You were kind of basically sharing. Whether you could have been setting him up for all I know, but it seemed like you were sharing the lines with them.
100%. I think that's one of the great things about Shane was just on this podcast, wasn't he? About Shane's races is you get that community camp feel. People talk about camp life. That's at all parts of the race, right? Right at the sharp end, you're also discussing the lines. And so after the first day where I realised Jacob was a pretty serious runner and doubly serious for flying from Poland to Wales for his first time in Wales to be running the length of Wales.
Excellent.
Pretty serious guy. We'd sat down each night and Matt recce'd the next day, and broadly I real recce'd the next day. But we just sort of went through pacing plans and water plans, and he was like, "Oh, can I fill up with water here?" And I'd be like, "Not there." And I'd say, "I'm
Yes,
thinking
definitely there. Don't worry about the dead sheet. Just
the ground is good. The ground is good. Yeah, we do that kind of thing. And then, in terms of lines, I did point out some shortcut lines, and we ended up running a couple of the shortcut lines together. I think the most important shortcut on the Dragon's Back is the famous wall line in the Rinogs. I don't know if you know what that means, Gary, or if your listeners will know what the wall line is.
I just follow the GPS track. Yeah, no, I'm not too sure.
Good man, Gary. Good tactic. That's fine.
There we go. So in the Rinogs, you can save, which is probably one of the cruxes of the route, one of the gnarliest sections. You can save 10-ish minutes by following a wall rather than the GPX. And Jacob didn't know that one, and I wasn't with him. We hadn't really buddied up yet. So
well, I remember even just on day one, Cribgoch, that kind of Snowdon horseshoe, and just seeing runners below me later on in that kind of horseshoe section, and just thinking, where the hell are they going? And I was literally hitting every little summit, which was fantastic from I wanted an adventure. So from that point of view, it was wonderful. But if you were racing, that would have been extremely
you hang right at the end of the horseshoe. That was a race where recceing just pays off massively. So the fact that Jacob ran such a competitive race blind, like no scope, was incredible. Yeah.
Well, if you have listened recently, we started doing the AI intros, so we've put you on both of your names.
But we've had to edit both of yours too, because your sordid past was catching up a little bit too much into.
So fact check it.
Well, the photos on there, not the photos. No.
we've just put the peach emoji in the right place.
For people who are listening, though, to get people familiar, Keith. It's got the Scottish accent. So if you're on YouTube, you can see us all four of us in delicious colour. But if you're listening along as you're jogging along, then Keith is Scottish. So we will do the AI intros. You can fact check them, actually. Tell us if they are correct. And then we'll go on from there. Okay, Hugh, it's you first. Hugh Chatfield is quite an impressive individual. He is known for his achievements in both his professional and athletic life. Hugh is an accomplished ultra runner. He won the 2023 Montane Dragon's Back race. He has also participated in and achieved top finishes in various other ultra races such as Ultra-Trail Snowdonia and Transgrancanaria. Outside of work and running, Hugh enjoys swimming, cycling, playing hockey and busking on his guitar. He also volunteers and has been involved in projects like Food Cycle, a food recycling charity and farming projects in Ecuador. I'm trying to visualize the scene, Hugh. You're in a town centre, 10 o'clock at night. You look down at your guitar bag, you've got, I don't know, a couple of quid, not even enough money for your bus fare home. What is the tune? What are you going to get? What's going to get you a fiver to get the bus ride home? What are you playing on your guitar?
Oh, it's got to be Summer of '69, Bryan Adams.
Ah, yes.
But
I didn't even know you played the guitar.
Yeah, I do play the guitar. Yeah, fair bit actually. I mean, really. But I think what that's picked up is my work CV when I was applying for jobs maybe 8 years ago. Perhaps the kind of things I was doing at that time. Yeah, I don't do much busking anymore. I do play the guitar. I have volunteered for Food Cycle, not for a long time. I do work for a charity. And I have run in some of those races. So, yeah, that's really much fact checking, but it's probably a little out of date.
I love how it trolls. We spoke to Darla. We've not put that interview out just yet. But yeah, it does kind of pick articles from online. And I think Darla's work CV was about 2 years out of date, wasn't it? Unfortunately. Okay, Keith. Keith Wigley is an elite British trail, fell and ultra runner. Keith has achieved podium finishes in several major races, including the Ultra-Trail Snowdonia, the British Trail Running Championships and Elite OMM. He has also participated in UTMB, although he didn't finish the race in 2023-2024. I thought it was a bit harsh.
Pick that out.
Yeah, I dwelled on that point. Keith finished second. Keith finished second at the British Trail Running Championships 50 mile in 2023. He also completed the Bob Graham round alongside his friend Ross Hold. Originally from Scotland, Keith has made the Yorkshire Dales his second home. He has a background in the military and has started a career as a secondary school's maths teacher. Also a Swaledale Marathon course record holder. Are you going to be there this year? I've entered this year. Are you going to be there?
No, annoyingly, I've still got the lovely, it's a really good trophy and it's a really good event. I wanted to build up a nice winning streak because I won it the last 2 years in a row. And I think, I'd have to look on the back of it, but I think the longest winning streak's 7 or 8 years. I can't make it this year because too close to another race. It's a week before the 14 Peaks race that both you and I are doing in Wales. So I got to hand back the trophy. Maybe it's yours this year, Gary.
Yeah, just send it straight on to Gary. I think he's got ambition.
Well, I wouldn't mind. Look, I don't know what the times are at the kind of sharp end of the V50 age category. I wouldn't mind a crack at that. And also, Keith, I'm not too sure if you remember could be a month ago now, you popped up on we spin the wheel and we pick out some of our community from Strava and you popped up over on there. I'm not too sure if you listened to that episode.
I haven't heard that one, but you did shout me out. It wouldn't have been last summer. It would have been the summer before when I was training for one of my DNFs at UTMB. You shouted me out that summer as well because it used to call out the biggest mileage of the week. And I got one there, but I haven't listened to the one recently.
People like you, Keith, who do huge volume, we thought we need to start spinning the wheel to pick people from throughout the community because, yeah, literally it was every week it was the same 3 people every week were getting a shout out. But yeah, you mix up your training too. It's not just the running. I looked on your Strava today again and I remember there's a lot of cycling over there. Is that, what's the reason behind that? Is it work commute?
No, I mean, most of it's not work commute. Most of it's sat on the turbo trainer upstairs, or when the weather improves, it will be more outside. Yeah, I mean, Hugh does a bit as well, and it's non-impact volume at zone 1, zone 2, either recovery or pushing the pedals down hard without the impact. It's all good training, isn't it?
I fact check Keith's AI intro. Sorry, before we go too far off, there's a few things in there that I wanted to fact check.
Good. Do it.
No, Hugh, stop.
No, this one's fun. You'll enjoy this one. One is that I think they credited Keith with the OMM Elite podium. We'd just point out that that's a pairs race. And I don't know how much of the navigation Keith did.
I was fairly involved, yeah.
You were, yeah.
With
okay.
my partner. Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's all just a bit of fun, guys. It's just a bit of fun. Let's not take this tone into this podcast.
Who was pushing the pace in the last few miles, though, Hugh, to try and get that third place as well?
Probably you. I bet you had the glory for the last 2% of the weekend, yeah.
This is when my kids go, Eddie and Gary left the group chat. Oh, God. Oh, God. There's obviously a deep relationship here, guys. How did you two become friends, or frenemies, as we perhaps should say?
Hugh and I met mid-race. at Ultra-Trail Snowdonia in 2023. I think fair to say both him and I were kind of like outsiders for like a top position in this race. There was quite a few decent people running, Tom Owens, Jack Scott, a couple of good Europeans as well. Hugh, in like his sort of classic style, kind of like went off with that sort of lead pack and was probably in the top 3 or 4 for most of the race up until I started closing him down. I tend to go off on these things a little bit more conservatively, and I was like quite content with like a top 10 finish in the race. Like I thought that was achievable. I think like I was ranked maybe 14th, 15th. Just after halfway, I think I went past Tom Owens, Jack Scott, a Polish guy, within the space of like 10k or something like that. And I was like, oh, game on. And then I came into the next checkpoint and Mr. Chatfield was there. And we'd never met. And I think I asked you, like, what position are we in? And you gave like the defeatist answer of, you're in second. And I was like, all right, dude, his heart's already out of it. And then we kind of left that checkpoint together, and I'd recce'd the whole course like a couple of months before. We like bimbled along a little bit, a few hundred meters, and we came to, it was like either like a couple of gates. You had an option to the right, a couple of gates, or you had like an option to the left where it was like a stile. And I knew like the stile was quicker or something like that. And he was fumbling away with these gates, and I just go for the stile. And I don't actually remember saying this until Hugh reminded me about it. I can't remember if you reminded me about it at the finish, Hugh, or maybe like months later. But as I went over the stile, I said to Hugh, work smarter, not harder.
Oh,
and then I just left him. That was the last time he saw me until the finish. Yeah, so pretty brutal. We kind of became friends because at the finish line, there's a good photo of us both with like our head in our hands, like just suffering. And we chatted away for like an hour at the finish. And then eventually, started running and training together after that, and did the OMM a few months after and things.
And that's where Keith built his current total time raced lead. So if we count race victories, I'm in the lead. But if you count time on course, Keith is lower, so he's technically in the running lead.
And we definitely count time, not victories.
I like that idea, counting the times. And so let's wind back a few weeks when you were at the Arc. Did you go into it with a bit of a race plan together, or were you like, no discussion? What was the WhatsApp chat like before?
Awesome race, right? Like we were both really excited and super excited to be on that start line, which started in a kind of crazy cool location in that window between the two storms. Yeah, what was our race plan? As Keith mentioned, often when we race together, I go out near the front pack, get to about halfway and get terrified that Keith is on the charge. And Keith starts a bit more conservatively and then, gets on the charge, gets his head down. This race, Keith had been giving it a lot of chat that he was going to go out harder.
Love it. Good.
A lot of chat.
Yeah, to risk it. Some chat. And also when Tom Evans was on the line, right? We both wanted to be competitive. Someone of that level, and there was a strong American runner called Justin on the start line, a couple of strong European runners, and then some of the top UK runners as well. We were like, well, to win a race or be competitive like this, you've got to race hard from the start. And that's what's happening in these ultras now at the sharp end. The sort of attritional approach won't win you one of these things anymore.
You've got to go out. You've got to go take 140 grams carbs. You've got to be able to hold a 5-minute mile for 5 hours.
How does that sit with you though, Keith? You mentioned there you would normally go out a bit more conservatively, then stronger at the back end of the race. We mentioned there that you've got to go out hard now in these races if you want to be on the podium. Are you stressed out at the start line?
Not stressed out. Like I'd already like mentally prepared. Like that was my tactic. I was like willing to accept it because in a couple of races in the past, not all, but say like we did a race in France called Templier in about October, and I stuck with my usual game plan. But I also ended up crossing the line thinking I've maybe not emptied the tank here. And like you say, like at the sharp end of these things now, if you truly want to win, you need to just risk it from the start because someone will do that and they will pull it off. So I was already with the mindset of being like, okay, we'll just try something new and go out with whoever's leading the way from the start. Yeah. It happened to be this guy on the podcast. So yeah, I just hung on for a while until I fell over.
Yeah, tell us about that. You took a bit of a wee tumble. Was that you just needed a break? Just like give them a little bit of extra room? Just too easy? Yeah. Too easy.
Yeah, I was a bit tired of their chat. Just saw the closest mud pile and thought I'd just go full frontal into that. Grazed up both my hands and knees. Yeah, there's like a moment where you think, oh, game over. I guess like a lot of people catastrophize it and things like that. But then you come to realize like it's mostly just like the shock of things and superficial. I mean, it looked good though. Annoyingly, I think there was like a non-race photographer that was soon after it when I was like at my most bloodied. but I never saw any photos from that. Maybe it was just.
Let's find it. We'll find
might
it.
just been an
Someone
individual
who took
fan of
it.
mine out following me.
Oh, of course, one of your OnlyFans. Is that what it is? Oh.
Yeah, we've got a big following on that. So there was a drone as well, actually. And that was following us, but it was probably filming Tom rather than me.
Was he chatting?
Well, so he started with his headphones on,
of course,
and there were a group of 4 or 5 of us. And we, after about 5 minutes, opened the chat. We're like, we're going to, have a bit of fun before this gets really painful. Start saying, who's this bloke running with us? He's gone off a bit key. Like, does he really know what he's doing? We're running quite fast here. And we got nothing back for 5-10 minutes on a few climbs. And we're like, okay, is he really serious? Like, is this how he's approaching this race? And at one point I turned to him on a descent, actually, and Keith said, what are you doing, mate? Watch your footing. And went to him like, Tom, what are you listening to? Just like trying to get him to turn off his headphones. And what did he say he was listening to?
I think he said Taylor Swift or something.
Taylor Swift. Yeah, Taylor Swift. That's apparently what you need to win ultras, just listen to Taylor Swift. Anyway, so then he turned his music down and then started chatting with us. I think this was probably a good tactic, slightly distract him from the race at hand. But it may have backfired because at one point he was asking us increasingly complicated questions.
Yeah, always on really steep hills. Yeah.
That's a classic tactic, that is. Just when you're struggling, throw a question out. Just let them do all the work. I love it.
I think he even slowed down at one point to let me respond. Because he asked me something, I don't know, he asked me something about the army or something like that. And it was quite a complex answer. And I was like, and then his sympathy slowed down for me. It was embarrassing.
If we could rewind a little bit though, I suppose, Keith, you first. Why this race? Why the Arc 2025, the 50 miler?
One of the main attractions was the UTMB banner. Not particularly because of the hype of a UTMB race. But I mean, it does attract a high caliber. It attracts a Tom Evans, it attracts other good runners. And I think Hugh and I would both say we're at that stage now where you want to race against other top athletes to see where you stack up. And we both wanted to qualify for CCC in 2026. The good thing about the UTMB races in the UK, at least, is that they show you, if you look online, you can see a top ranked runners list. So when Hugh and I viewed that around September, October time, we realized that if we entered, we would be the 2 top ranked runners. And as bad as that sounds, you're trying to find the best, because it's hard to come top 3 at these events now. Yeah. And you only get automatic qualification guaranteed for CCC if you come top 3. So it kind of looked like a softer option. It just so happened that Tom Evans and others
doing the
also
same.
saw
Exactly.
it as a softer option and jumped in after us.
He was jamming to Taylor, and she was she says go in her. Keith, can you tell us a little bit about your UTMB? So you've done 2 UTMB DNFs and now you're going to go CCC. Is there a method in that madness?
I'm just going to keep dropping down distance until I can. I'm going parkrun next on Saturday, actually.
What happened at the last 2?
I kind of made the silly decision that when I got 3rd at UTS 2023, that gave me CCC entry for that summer. You can kind of email them and be like, can I please jump up a distance? And they're usually all right with that. And I was like, well, if I'm going to go to UTMB, I might as well have a crack at the big thing. But maybe that just, bit off a little bit more than I could chew. I wasn't coached at the time. I kind of trained really silly. I think I did 120 hours of training in July.
Got to August and went,
Got to August and
a bit cooked.
Yeah, overcooked. This summer, although I was coached and everything seemed on the surface to be going well, I spent a lot of time in Teen, which is at altitude at 2,500 meters. I think that maybe overcooked me a bit as well. You never really know. But I mean, chatting to Tom Evans as well, during the race, actually, he spent the same amount of time in Teen. He was there when I was there. And he kind of surmised that it was similar sort of symptoms he had when he dropped out. So maybe it's just I think altitude is somewhat overrated, really. The risk is almost worse than the potential reward of it paying off. And then some other things with those 2 races and stuff. But I mean, ultimately, I think both of them were just out of my realm of comfort. I feel a lot more comfortable with these 100k, 50 mile races and enjoy them more. So I think we're just going to stick to that sort of niche for now.
Hugh, have you been over to any of those races yet? Or is this going to be a first tickle?
I completed CCC.
Oh, Keith.
Last year. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. I also didn't have a good race, and I'd run some really strong times in recce. So I'd been out and run the course and was really happy with my splits, and then was an hour and a half or so slower on race day. I think it is this dance with altitude. I think you can be over-prepared, under-prepared. It's also a big occasion. Yeah, it was definitely my worst race of the past couple of years in terms of like actual performance. You've got to have an off day, right? Not everything comes together in these ultras all the time, and that was mine last year. So that's kind of why I'm not doing it this year. Another year, pick off some different goals, ramp up again for 2026, I think.
Always learning. What is it? What's your motto, Keith? Smarter, not farter. What was it? What did you say?
Yeah, so not
Smarter, not harder.
I love the jeopardy, especially the longer you go on these ultra races, like, 100 miles or then the 200s and then the spine race, stuff like that. The jeopardy just increases. I absolutely love it. Do you find though now, because I suppose you maybe focus on maybe becoming professional athletes, hopefully maybe in the future, you pick your races for podium finishes maybe as opposed to adventures?
Great question. So had you asked me this question like 2 years ago, I'd have said 100% I'm racing for adventure. Like I want to go to Wales and Snowdonia because I want to go on all these mountains, and I want to go to the Canary Islands because I want to run over the volcanoes. Now, I'm not racing I'm not choosing races so I can be on the podium. I think I'm choosing races where it's going to be a real tough athletic challenge. Interesting that you said a little debating whether we're going pro. Obviously, we'd both love to be professional runners. So I think that would be great. But we're definitely not pro or semi-pro yet, although we're trying to live that life.
Oh, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the Elite Trail team. Both on that, I see Meryl's on the Elite Trail team, isn't she too? I see. Well, what is it?
Well, it popped on my radar. It was I think Ugoku Projects must support the team. They did supply your caps. That's when I think they did a social media post and they said they were supporting the trail team. Yeah, I suppose, Keith, what is the vision? I suppose I'm going to hit you with 3 questions in one, really. The elements of the team. Do you have like dietitians, psychologists, coaching? I'd love to know. I've got a friend actually who I think you reached out to the trail team.
Who's your friend? Is it your friend, Gary?
Do they want any V50?
Special friend. It has all those things that you mentioned, Gary. It does have. We have a registered dietitian, Rebecca Dent. We have a sports psychologist, Josephine Perry. We have a sleep doctor, Charlotte Edelstein. We have a coach and founder who's Doug Stewart. We've got other things as well. We've gone to Loughborough for lab testing, whether that be like VO2 max testing or lactate threshold testing or sweat. Why can't I say it?
Swaledale marathon testing.
Yes, Swaledale marathon. Sweat rate testing. Hugh's just been to Manchester to see Dr. Chris Bram for biomechanics testing, so like analysing how you move and how to improve. So it's got all those things attached to it. Hugh and I both joined the team about 12 months ago, and Hugh actually owes me thanks because I applied and then I sent him the application and he almost didn't do it. All his success since then is really down to me. Yeah, it's sort of like the brainchild of our coach, Doug Stewart, who created the team like 2 or so years ago and has sort of built on it since then, adding on that sort of performance panel members that I've already mentioned. And then he coaches us all himself. There's about 14 of us on the team. I think that is an even split of 7 guys and 7 girls, or maybe we're 8 guys and 7 girls or something like that. He's trying to keep it as even as possible, which is obviously great. His sort of idea was that most professional teams at the moment are all supported by, brands like Adidas Asterix have a team, Asics have a team, or they have a collection of athletes that are all sponsored and all wear that kit. But maybe what they don't offer is all those additional things and all that additional sort of science backing about nutrition, about sleep, etc. And obviously, if he created that sort of team, he could add those components and we wouldn't have to be sponsored by a brand. We could just be supported by all those factors.
Yeah.
And then maybe down the line, some big company, whether that be a running brand or whether that be like a different brand, like
Greg's, if you listen to
Greg's, yeah, even better, a Greg's. They come on and give us loads of money. And we plaster Greg's across our chest. And we have Greg's caps. We sell sausage rolls.
Donuts in the aid stations. Oh my goodness, mate, that'd be sensational. And as you're training here, I suppose you can answer this one. Post and pre-elite team, has your training and approach to running radically changed?
Yeah, definitely. I was coached before ETT. I don't think Keith was. I was working with Marcus Scotney, so another name within the kind of ultra running UK space, and with a whole bunch of results and great coached athletes working with him. And that was my first time working with the coach. I worked with him for about a year, And that took me from just like running whenever I wanted to go for a run and always running hard, like everyone does, always running at tempo 3 times a week.
This is Gary's dream. This is Gary's dream.
So that was like 2-3 years ago. And then I worked with Marcus for a year, and he gradually sort of built up the volume, distinguished between easy runs and hard runs, talked about doing recce days properly, and sort of professionalized it a bit. So I was training properly, but maybe definitely a lower volume than now, and with lower specificity and like lower intensity than I am now, actually. So I just worked with the coach for a bit, and then working with Doug and this team it's gone up another notch. Never used to do double threshold days, often do those now. The volume is higher, but I've built up to that. I now have a sort of bigger arsenal of different sessions I can do. Every time you get a new session, you're like, oh, I don't know how to pace this, or what level of effort, or where should I do this? And now I've got way more of those, loads more treadmill work. So it's definitely just stepped up another level. I think Keith and I are probably training in the region of 12 to 15 hours of cardio a week, with some other stuff around that, a bit of gym and a bit of sauna, depending on where we are. So yeah, that's not the like top elite professional level, which is probably another few hours on top of that, but it's definitely beyond most kind of amateur.
Podium finishes speak for themselves, but like in the lab on like say a lactate threshold test and stuff like that, have you noticed an improvement or the numbers shifted over the year?
So we've got our next set of, we did that test in roughly March last year. Yeah. And so let's come on the podcast again in April, and I'll give you a step-by-step comparison when we do it again this year in March, April.
Fantastic.
What I have noticed though is, my like heart rate for an easy run. So if I go and run for an hour on an easy run, the like pace that I hit that now, or like pace heart rate, is like now 10 beats a minute lower than it was 2 years ago. So yeah, definitely.
I think like the main benefit is not necessarily like seeing an improvement in those numbers, but just knowing what those numbers are to begin with. Like loads of people, like, I don't know, 95% of people out there on the trails will not know where their heart rate switches from zone 2 to zone 3 or zone 3 to zone 4, like the actual specificity of it. And although that changes, like it gives us a great like advantage on like a start line, being able to think like, I know I can hold X heart rate for X many hours, as long as I don't go over it, and as long as I feel correctly, as long as I don't fall in a pile of mud, then I should be okay.
Can we talk about double threshold days? I've done double threshold days as a triathlete many times, but varying the load from bike to run or swim to run. 2 hard runs a day. What does that look like? And how do you get your rusty old legs going on that second run?
So typically they are different bits of your threshold. So like first threshold and second threshold. So LT1, LT2. So typically one of the runs or exercises would be around LT1, and the other one might be more sprints or shorter, harder efforts around LT2, rather than just both crushing yourself at like sprint speed. Yeah. So they're not kind of like double sprint sessions typically. Yeah, I tend to do, if I have a double day, which in not every week has those, but in build or big training weeks will likely have 1 or 2 of those. I would tend to do them both as runs. Yeah, but just on those days, the like nutrition and hydration is just so important. Big breakfast, pre-fuel the run, fuel on the run, protein shake after the run, big lunch, snack in the afternoon, pre-fuel the run, fuel on the run, fuel post the run. That's kind of the only way through it. You just have to really dial in the nutrition. But I think, Keith, you don't tend to do the double threshold runs.
I do tomorrow.
Oh no, you're sitting there going, oh God.
Harking back to what you said though, Eddie, is that like sometimes those double threshold sessions are actually, well, I do quite a lot, which is like, say I have a threshold run in the morning, but then I do a threshold bike in the evening or afternoon. But then, occasionally they are like a double threshold run. So for tomorrow, for example, I've got, and Hugh again says sometimes it's like a zone 3 and then a zone 4. Well, tomorrow I've actually got like 30 times 30-second hill sprints in the morning, and then in the afternoon 25 times 1 minute on the flat. And so they're both going to be pretty
they're both
high heart rate. And I actually find the second session almost
once you get into
my body's like almost warmed up still from the morning. So as long as you do what Hugh just said and you like fuel adequately and stuff, like we owe a lot. Like we wouldn't be able to do this now without like the science backing and the knowledge that we've gained from being in the elite trail team. We wouldn't fuel properly. Like I used to go on runs all the time, like completely underfueled or not fueled at all. And I just wouldn't be able to train like I do now if I didn't have that sort of knowledge about things now.
How do you guys manage? You're training 12 to 15 hours a week. You are at the pointy end of the sport. And lots of people have this question, like, how do you manage? You're also working, and people are often like, oh, these people just have all the time in the world to train. It's like, no. There's very few professional runners actually in the UK. It doesn't have the same system as the Americans of the elite trails system. How do you juggle the energy, the training load, as well as being humans?
Yeah, I work 4 days a week for a charity. I've got a management role in a charity, and we help people into work. Really good job. Really like what I do. And I've reached a stage now where I used to work in like a big management consultancy and work all hours of the week. And that wouldn't allow the amount of training I do. But the lifestyle I've got around my job at the moment allows me to do that. Probably the limit, like me and my partner, we don't have kids, and we have quite a small family. Neither of us have brothers or sisters, so our circles are relatively small, and so our no dependents at the moment. So it's kind of run, work, time together,
eat.
Yeah, eat.
You're right, darling.
Eat again. Yeah, sleep. That's about it, really. It's quite full on.
I'm like fairly fortunate. Well, not fortunate. I mean, like I took a bit of a risk. But like this time last year, I would have been working full time as a secondary school teacher, teach maths in a school down the road, and I really was like you say, Eddie. I was almost felt like I was burning the candle at both ends. Like there's a lot of pros to being a teacher in terms of like time off and holidays and stuff like that, but it's full on when you're in a school, because like you're not just sitting there firing off emails like in your own time. You got to be like fully present. So I found it, and it was my first year of teaching, so I found it like really
my God,
I found it pretty exhausting year. So around this time last year, I made the decision that like, luckily my school was super supportive, and I said like I want to go part-time. So as of September last year, I worked 5 days in every 10. So I have a 2-day week at school and I have a 3-day week at school, which has obviously now opened up a good bit more time to train, but also a good bit time more to rest. And I almost feel like it's always that second thing which is more advantageous now. I'm probably training no more than I trained last year, but just the fact that I'm not in a classroom for those other hours, because stress is stress, right?
However, if TEA10 Trails are thinking about setting up a professional running team in the UK,
there's only 2 members. And their slots already taken. I think you find our applications very quickly. We're not looking for performance. We're looking for tea drinking capabilities, good chat. Yeah, pretty good at that. This is
I'm
different.
out then. I think I've only drank 2 cups of tea in my entire life.
Keith, it's disgusting.
Oh my goodness. How did you kick him out of the meeting, Eddie? That's a shocking confession.
So do you now find when you go in, you're that little bit fresher?
Yeah, it does make a massive difference. Yeah. I never have a Monday where I go in on a Monday and think, well, I've got 5 days of this to drag through, so I teach fewer classes now and things like that. I feel like it's better for the kids as well, because I'm not like this stressed out individual. I'm like a bit more present for the 2-3 days that I'm there. So hopefully, I do find this year a lot more enjoyable teaching. I mean, the benefit is that I'm now a year on as well, so you learn from
it's massive.
Mistakes
you can stop lesson planning now and just go in and go, where were we? What page number? Not saying I ever did that.
No. Thorough planning.
Can we talk about the race again, Eddie?
Sorry.
It's really a complicated bit of editing.
Gary hates it.
We'll do split rooms where Eddie and I talk about teaching and you two talk about driving.
Gary hates it because I've ruined his whole script. And
all over the place, honestly.
It's all and he's chaos.
I'm deleting, I'm copy and pasting. I'd like to
Where are we going to go, Gary? Where are we going to go? Where are you going to go? You just jump back in and I'm going to
go, give us a flavour, start to finish. It looks like all the way to Batalic, you are together. Is that the tail?
Where have we gone? We've gone back to the Arc.
Yeah,
I've gone back up.
Oh,
We've
back
literally
in the Arc. Right, okay.
Gone back up.
Can you not feel the sea breeze blowing?
I was in the maths classroom with what was it? Common denominator factors or something it was last week. And I was like, I don't even know how to spell that.
Yeah, great, Gary. So we're running from tonight.
So let me talk about common denominator.
Sorry, come on, Hugh. Yeah, let's go back there.
So we wanted to win this race. This is like leaping back to 20 minutes ago. So to win this race, or to get, you've got to take the race to Tom. So we went out hard, but we had hard splits to hit. So it's not like we went out hard and we thought we could run broadly. Yeah, it was running comfortably, but comfortably hard. Yeah, we're all together as a group of 4/5 with a 5th runner who we didn't know, and then the 4th runner in that mix with Jack Chamberlain, another strong British runner who lives over in the Alps. About Batalic, I think that's how you pronounce it, or something like that. That's when Jack begins to fall off the pace. And so it's down to 3 of us. And then this is the crux of the race. So from Metallic to St Ives is the muddiest, rockiest, hardest bit supposedly of the race, and the most technical, and definitely on the 100 miler where people really, their dreams of this easy 100 miler, just the altitude profile looks quite flat, they die. And it's where it gets muddy and wet, and it was pretty wet.
And it's like 2.5 hours without any checkpoint, so it's a long stretch.
Yeah,
That's
2.5 hours for us
as well,
yeah,
obviously.
so minimum 2.5 hours. That's a punchy split. So yeah, at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. We're running to plan. We're a group of 3. I'm like, well, I'm going to push on a bit again. So I start attacking the climbs just a little bit harder than I had been before. This gets a little bit of a gap on Keith, who then falls, and that opens the gap a bit more. And so then it's Tom and I running. And I keep the same thing going. Like, I'm attacking the climbs, pushing hard. He leads for about, I'm going to say 20 footsteps, and then I nick back in front and push on again. Yeah, and he's been interviewed on a couple of podcasts since, and I think his phrase was pleasantly surprised by the level of competition. He definitely didn't have the easy ride I think maybe he would have guessed looking at our names on the start list. We get to St Ives, Tom and I together, but unfortunately our drop bags aren't there. So there's a split decision, crazy moment where we're like, okay, are they going to come? Because there's volunteers, bless them, like realizing we're a bit ahead of the timetable with like 19 bags on each arms, like waddling in and throwing them over the table and running back out to the van, which is 400 meters down the road to get more. And Tom, makes the really professional, impressive decision, and more impressive actually with hindsight, to just go and just say, I'm going to use aid station food and I'm going to change my nutrition plan on the fly. So Tom goes, I'm there, I think, split the decision. I decide to wait for my food, and I ask them if they're going to give me a couple of minutes back if I wait for my bag. And they say yes. If they'd said no, I'd have gone, and who knows what would have happened. In this time, Keith arrives. He's a few minutes back. His bag is there. It's one of the bags that arrived, and leaves again.
This is suspicious. Has there been an investigation into this?
Yeah. That full credit to Hayden and the UTMB team, in the sense that it was the first time they were racing it with that many runners, the speeds, etc. And I think they did the right thing. And obviously I'll get it right next time, I'm sure. So I set off after Keith, catch him in about 20-ish minutes. We run together for maybe another 20-30 minutes. We hit the Dunes of Doom, and at that point I kick on a bit more and run through to the finish. And people say, yeah, looking good, and the gap to Tom's 5 minutes, but even though there's those 3 short climbs at the end, it's too flat to close a gap of that length, because you're going to have to run like what Tom said on a podcast recently, you'd have to be running like 3-minute 30Ks to close that gap. So it's just not going to happen, is it? I was not demoralized, but I was like, okay, yeah, good. I'm not going to catch him, but I'll keep running hard. That was how it played out for me.
And how are you feeling after Metallic, Keith? You took a tumble. What's your state of mind after that?
Take the tumble. And then, it's about 30 seconds of like wallowing in your own misery, thinking, oh, that's the race gone. Like, I can see them. Like, I remember getting up from the mud and like, so looking at, it was Hugh and then Tom. Tom didn't even look behind. I felt like crying out to him, like, hey, Tom. So, I mean, luckily, like, I think I like kind of bounced back from it quite quick. The best thing to do in that situation is just like start moving again.
Get up and go.
If you stop, like, thing's just going to get worse and like seize up even more. So
I think they have said, like, there's been some something about if you get up and as soon as you fall over, if you move again, your body thinks you're still being chased, and so you don't get as sore and stiff, because it goes back to like the primeval with the lion is still behind me, I'm still running away, I'm still being hunted. Whereas if you stop, of course, then everything starts calming down, and that's when you're like, oh, I feel a bit.
Shutdown mode.
So it's quite a good little tip. Obviously, if you've broken a leg or something, don't say, Eddie said on a podcast, I have to carry on running. But if it's a fall and you just bashed yourself, then you have to add a bit, if you get up and move again, it sort of keeps that adrenaline high, which is exactly what you did, Keith. You were such a trooper.
Yeah, such a hero. Unsung hero, really.
We're giving you your moment.
Yeah. I mean, I was being chased in a way, wasn't I? Like, I knew Jack wasn't probably that far behind, so I thought, like, you got to keep moving. So I kind of like trundled along, and I quickly realized that because it's just kind of like lumpy bumpy terrain, I've always got Hugh and Tom like pretty much in my sights, and I realized I'm actually not leaking that much time to them. There's a little bit of morale boost there. Given like an hour in, I really can't even feel like the cuts and stuff after an hour, so I'm almost like back to like not 100%, but like pretty much there. And I come into St Ives halfway point, like with a bit more morale and stuff like that. And then I obviously see Hugh, and I'm a little bit confused. Hugh's just standing there at the aid station. Yeah, luckily the ones that I've paid off, the volunteers, they hand me my drop bag, and I'm like, sweet, cheers, that's worked out really well. Grab my stuff, and then I get out of there. Again, moving pretty well, but then as Hugh kind of catches me, I realize he's just got like a little bit more of a skip in his step. I feel I'm trying to like hang on to his tails for a few K, and I do, but then we start hitting that more duney section with a few more ups. And I sense I like kind of give him like the go ahead. I know he's going to leave me anyway, because like no love lost between us, and we had already agreed that like no joint finish this time. Like we're gonna race to the finish. So I kind of like say bon voyage, like I don't know, I think so, like go get him or something like that. And then he kind of like again kind of starts pushing on a little bit, and I kind of settle more into my own rhythm. But I think the main thing was that I just wasn't so much the fall. It was more like the earlier efforts in the race. And I brought it on myself because I wanted to like race this race more aggressively than races I had in the past. So the cost of those earlier efforts on some of the climbs where Hugh could run more comfortably, I was kind of like pushing a bit harder to try and keep pace with him. So all of that sort of had caught up with me, basically just didn't have the legs.
We didn't have one of those long descents, because often these big mountain races pack 2 or 3 big long descents into the end as you work your way back down to the finish.
Yeah.
And that's obviously it's where Keith has been really strong in the past. That Templier has this big race we did in France in October. I had 7 or 8 minutes on Keith at halfway, and it was 2 minutes at the line, and it's net descending second half of the race.
Yeah.
And you didn't have that at the Arc. You've just got these like little trips down to these river valleys and back up. You haven't got this long quad pounding descent.
It's like 100 meters, isn't it? Something. I think the highest point, it's 100 meters up and down the climbs and descents. It's not like 4 miles.
It's not an easy race. It's not
no.
At all.
I'm curious, you talk about the effort there. It's a puzzle. The 100-mile distance for me, I never seem to get it right. I'm always probably putting too much effort in, and then I kind of throws my stomach off. Are you going to threshold, or is it like that kind of high zone 2, low zone 3, whatever that is?
So I was aiming for the first 30 minutes of a race like that, where your race strategy is to go hard. I'm happy with a tiny bit of zone 4. But if I'm in zone 4 for more than like a climb here or there, like a minute or 2 here and there, then I would be holding back. But luckily the climbs weren't long enough to really worry that. And then once that sort of like buzz had gone, I was aiming for middle of zone 3 on the climbs, middle of zone 2 on the flats for the first 4 hours to St Ives. And then after St Ives, it's, you've been running them for 4 hours, I'm struggling then to hit zone 3 because I just can't like turn the legs fast enough or hard enough.
Broadly similar, I suppose. The only place where we would have diverged is that on those climbs, those earlier climbs in the race, I would accept going into zone 4, but as we just said, it's almost like you get to the top of these climbs and there's no let off. You're still on the throttle. I think I was just staying in zone 4 for a little bit too long, and that just accumulating lactate, and that comes back to bite you eventually.
When I run, it's a time trial. I'm racing the clock, DNF, cutoffs, whatever it is, maybe an age group. You two obviously, at the sharp end of the races. The UTMB highlights it like probably, I think Boston Marathon does the same. Your qualifying time relates to your bib number, and I think your index relates to your bib number. Yeah. Are you on the start line thinking there's quite a lot of pressure, because obviously people know where you should be maybe in that race?
Yeah, I didn't feel much pressure at the Arc, actually. I was nervous because it's a race, but I don't think I was like pressured to perform. What about you, Keith?
I think broadly these things are still an individual challenge. Like, there's a racing element, but like it's not to the same scale as standing on the start line of I'd much rather stand on the start line of an ultra than on the start line of a 10K. Although a 10K is a time trial, like it also immediately feels like a race. Whereas an ultra, maybe not at 50K, I don't know, I've done some 50Ks, but even at 50K, or in this race, like for 3 hours we were chatting away. We're working hard, but you're like you're not racing each other yet. You're kind of like looking at the watch thinking, this is the pace that I think is a good target and will get me the finish time that I think I should be able to get. Largely is still an individual contest, isn't it? Like, I think that's why most people like it, and that's why the growth of trail running is so good, because it is like generally quite a friendlier environment than road racing.
I think the trails are definitely more friendly. I've done York Marathon, and it was the year that I think it was the age groupers were there with all their England vests. I didn't have the vest, but goodness me, every time I saw a vest, I didn't care how old they were or anything like that, male or female. I just wanted to take them all out. I was
By tackling.
Did it deliver? I'm curious. You got really close to one of the world's best. So from a performance point of view, podium, you don't really get much better than that. But holistically, the whole event, did it deliver?
There's always going to be teething problems. Like the Arc's obviously an established race and has been like a really good premier event in the UK for years. But whenever something takes over a little bit of like new management or ownership, I'm not really sure how the UTMB sort of banner works. I mean, there's still the old race director there. I'm not sure how much he has to play in things. But then you've got the introduction of the new 25-mile distance. It's probably jumped up in numbers because of the UTMB banner. So there's going to be teething problems like the drop bag situation that Hugh said. I mean, I'll probably sign up again come March when it opens.
Next week or whenever it opens.
I've loved it. We've had, oh goodness me, Eddie, how many guests now we've talked about the Arc?
Had a lot of Arc chat, haven't we?
And it's been completely unplanned. It hasn't been us trying to cause you up to UTMB or anything like that.
We don't plan any.
But yeah, it's because as a northerner, I don't go much further south than the Dales, so it's been really nice to kind of gain some knowledge on what that race would be like.
What's the rest of 2025 looking like for both of you? What's the plans? Keith, big dog?
Yeah, I am the big dog. Well, we got some things in common. I don't think either of us is racing again until the spring. Well, actually, I tell a lie. We're both racing a High Cup Nick Fell race this Saturday.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, but we don't count that on the wins total, just so we're clear. Because he often outdoes me on the shorter fell races, that's for sure. Unless we have like a net downhill one day, then maybe I'll be all right. We're both going to our coach's house in the French Pyrenees for a little bit of a training camp. And then we're doing like an ETT training camp just after that in Loughborough with some more testing and stuff. And then I'm going to do Ultra-Trail Snowdonia 100k again, third year in a row. See if we can get on the top step, but I'll probably just get faster and go down a step. That seems to be the trend. And then Hugh and I both, I suppose, like our main goal for both of us this year is to try and qualify for the GB team for World Championships. But in order to do so, we need to run, there's a qualifying race in Wales called the 14 Peaks at the end of June.
That's all the 3,000 feet mountains. Goodness, it's something like 4,000 meters of elevation, isn't it?
It's a punchy 50k race.
Mate. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, if you come top 2 in that, then you get automatic spot on the team. And then anything after that is based on like resume and recent performances and things like that. So it looks like we both need to do that race and hopefully come top 2.
Fantastic. What about yourself, Hugh? Anything else other than what Keith's mentioned?
Yeah, the only addition is I'm planning to run Madeira, the crossing of Madeira Island Ultra Trail at the end of April. So another one of these big, internationally competitive mountain races, which I'm really excited for. That's a punchy race, 120k, 6,000 meters of climb, all kinds of terrain. Lots of weather hits Madeira in spring. So
lots of steps.
Lots of steps, up and down. So looking forward to that. And then
too scared to enter Snowdonia again, weren't you? Too scared?
Yeah. I was already signed up for Madeira with flights booked before that option materialised.
I love it. Fantastic. Well, best of luck with all of that. Yeah, best of luck this Saturday too. High Cup Nick. So what's the date for that? So it's kind of, where would it start? Dufton, or have I got that wrong?
I think you are right. Yeah, I think so. I think Dufton rings a bell.
You head up the valley.
Yeah.
You head up I've never been there, but you head up, I've looked at it on the map, you head up the kind of river valley, up the absolute wall to the top, you join the Pennine Way and head left.
Excellent.
And you run back along the ridge and come down. We were chatting to a few people at the 9 Standards Fell race we did on New Year's Day, and a few of them said they clocked their fastest ever 5Ks, like their Strava PB 5Ks on the descent. So there were people like clocking 15.5-minute 5Ks and stuff on the descent.
I definitely didn't clock my fastest 5K on that descent when I came down during the spine. I reckon I clocked.
Oh, on the spine, that's different.
I reckon I clocked 2 hours.
You're like 180 miles in at the spine, aren't you? So that's a bit different.
I'll be checking our Strava club out, Keith, on Saturday. See how you go on.
No. Well, yeah, because you can't see Hugh, can you? Because he's incognito.
Request to follow. I've already checked. I tried to do my diligent research. If I couldn't see.
No, I'm a bit of a ghost on Strava.
Anyway, everything's set to private. He's Strava dark.
Occasionally people tag me in their runs and say, outrunning with Hugh. And I'm like, no, don't reveal my stats.
Fantastic. Should we do the quick five? What posters were on your bedroom wall as a child?
All I can remember is like a random, I don't even know if it was Niagara Falls or Victoria Falls. I think I got it from like TK Maxx. I must have been wandering through with my mum as a kid and been like, can I have this random picture of a waterfall? And that's what I've got. I don't even remember. Is that as boring as I am? That's probably as boring as I am.
Yes.
Probably still have that somewhere at my parents' house.
You're pretending you don't.
We normally get horses, don't we? That's the horse and pony pictures on the bedroom wall. Hugh, last film you watched or remember watching?
Yeah, I watched Conclave a couple of weeks ago. The one about about how they elect a new pope. Very good film. I hated the ending.
Is it like a Netflix, Amazon? Where am I aiming?
I saw that in a real cinema.
Do they exist?
Yeah, I went whilst eating. I doubled it up with refueling post-run.
Well, what's your cinema snacks? What you go to cinema?
Anything and everything. That's one of the good things about ultra running is you've got a pretty high calorie commitment.
Yeah. Keith, okay, it can't be running or cycling, but how would you pass the time on a day off?
Oh, I've got a dog who is a running. Can you see her there? She's racked out. I mean, she does come on a lot of runs, but I do probably spend, well, Hugh alluded to our training volume, but not factored in the probably like 10 plus hours spent walking that thing
dog volume
every week. If I couldn't run or couldn't cycle, I'd probably just stuck in the endless loop of dog walks.
Is the dog allowed upstairs too? It's always a hot topic on the podcast.
No, she's not actually. I mean, sofa's within limits, as you can see. But yeah, I don't take her upstairs. She was very cozy in the van. Hugh and I stayed in my van on Friday. It was an interesting. It was also Valentine's Day, even stranger.
Sensational. Hugh, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions?
Do I have any pre-race? I don't actually. I'm not a very superstitious kind of person. I don't have lucky underwear. I don't have any of that kind of thing. Although something that started happening recently is Keith has been making me rice pudding pre-race, which I've been really enjoying.
Incredible choice.
Apparently the recipe is something like 1 part rice, 1 part water, 1 part milk, 1,000 parts sugar, and it goes down pretty well.
You've paid for my flights to Madeira, haven't you? Because
that should be every pre-race ritual. I shave my eyebrows, not off completely, but because I'm a man of a certain age, I got like crazy random hairs, so I like to go all.
I don't think this needs to go on the podcast.
Aerodynamics.
Exactly. Yeah, everything counts. Keith, bucket list race.
Have you not got to finish UTMB at some point?
Oh no, I'm done with that one. Western States, although I really don't like running in the heat or anything like that, but just like given the I don't know, I don't want to sound like vanilla or bland, but like
everybody says Western States,
Keith, of it being like the first 100 mile, like one of the first 100 milers or whatever they say, like if I had a choice and I could only have one and it was guaranteed, I suppose it would have to be that.
Yeah, I'll be there too, I think. You get the choice, the Instagram story music choice. What's it going to be?
I told him about this. He didn't know about this, so we've slightly pre-prepped. I don't know.
I don't even remember what you said.
It was a 50-50 call, so I'm going to see what he said.
Well, I think I would go with, it's got to be either Summer of 69, the Bryan Adams song that we mentioned earlier, because we've listened to that, Keith and I, in his van a lot, because he has it on like cassette.
On Valentine's Day, Summer of 69.
Who doesn't love a bit of Brian as well? Every song's a classic.
It's the only CD I have in my van. My van doesn't have Bluetooth. So we have listened to the 7 tracks from that single many times.
Isn't that or Pink Pony Club, but I think Summer of 69 is a bit more on brand.
Summer of 69 it is. Fantastic. Thanks for your time today. Good luck at the weekend. I will be watching. We know a little bit. We're trying to connect with brands and that kind of stuff. It is a tricky path to navigate. So your best of luck with all that side of it too. Yeah, it's been a blast. Thanks, guys.
Thanks guys.
Thank you both.
thank you, Harrier Trail Running, for sponsoring our Strava Club and Tales from the Trails. Harrier is the UK's fastest growing brand for trail runners, providing specialist kit designed for superior fit, comfort and function with the best customer support. Check them out for race vests, waterproofs, poles and other race essentials at www.harrierrunfree.co.uk, where you can also download your free copy of How to Run an Ultra Guide. Use the code TEA10 for 10% off site-wide, or check out their brilliant trail bundles for a special 20% off. I ran with the Kinder 10-litre pack for the weekend. That fit everything in, did the job without any dramas at all. So it was pretty much full race kit. I had the head torch, waterproofs, tops and bottom, base layer, insulated jacket, first aid kit, the Harrier first aid kit, and Harrier bivvy bag. Currently £49 in the Harrier sale, plus your extra 10% off if you use the code TEA10. That, my friends, is a bargain. First up in the Strava Club is Thomas Avery, 60.7 miles for the week with the longest run of 13.1, 3,156 feet of vert. Smoking fast Paddock Wood half marathon, 1:19. That must be sub 6 minute miling, or pretty close to it.
Yeah, just very close to 6 minute miling, isn't it?
Oh my goodness me. Next up is Rob Wilson Knowles, 70 miles for the week, longest run of 30.4 with 11,722 feet of vert, a double Northern Traverse recce. I'm loving it. There's a few people, I think Lee Caves, I saw him on my social media. He actually did a bit of camping on Route 2. Really enjoying seeing people's pictures and little adventures. When these big races are coming up, you know, people really get into the weeds. You have to get more specific, get out on the route. Fantastic though, double day there, 30 miles for your longest day. Yoga 2, Rob is in the thick of it. Last up, Stuart Webster, 75.4 miles, longest run of 13.6, and elevation for the week, 3,773 feet. Looks like Stuart is in great shape ahead of the Rome Marathon specific run. Yoga weights, hill reps. Yeah, Rome cannot be that far away. Good luck, Stuart.
Jessica Friend gave us a shout out on Facebook, which I thought was very apt for the weekend I just had. Well done to those of us who got up and did our long run this morning in between everything else. Job, family, life and friends. Oh, the rest of today, there is nothing worse. In my opinion, there's nothing worse. Jessica didn't write this. This is just me voicing my overview. The rest of today brings a bit of supermarket shopping, both kids needing new clothes, supervising cheesecake making, and prepping Sunday lunch for friends tomorrow, taking daughter swimming, homemade pizzas and pancakes for tea because we're doing too much to fit them in on Shrove Tuesday, and then sleep. Wow. Thanks for sharing, Jessica. I think you're overachieving there, Jessica. This is too much going on there. Do you not just go for your long run and then lie on the floor and go, who wants to play Uno or Lego? Those are the two options. Mom, I'm almost 16. Yes, fine. We can build something out of this Lego.
Spinning all the plates, my goodness me. I saw Peter Faulkner over on Strava. He joined us for our Tea and Trails Ultra photo shoot the other week. He's been back on the route. He had a blast around some of the Tea and Trails Ultra route, just the pointy bits, mind. It was so nice having the sun out today. Hashtag always short wearing weather.
Pete, it's all coming clear.
He had incredible legs, although not so easy negotiating. Rocky. A lot of flesh. I couldn't stop focusing on it.
All right, stop it.
Not so easy negotiating the rocky plateau of Skiddaw without the dusting of snow we enjoyed last week on the Recce/Media Day. He's also loving some of the topical Strava segment names. I need this person to reveal themselves. So the Skiddaw descent, heavy flex, then home for a cuppa. Hashtag Tea and Trails. You know this. I can't believe you know this and you're not going to share it. Please, whoever you are, reveal yourself.
I think it's a good segment because I like a decent long segment. I don't stand a chance at anything over like 11 seconds. But I think this one is like 4 miles long. Let's see who's going to take those crowns.
Popped over to Spotify this week and I saw a new comment from Ben Johnson. Great episode. Can't believe Henrietta is a free agent. Not for long, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm curious how that is progressing. Fingers crossed, Henrietta, it all works out. Thanks for your reviews. Please keep them coming. It helps other trail runners find us. Pop over to Apple Podcast or Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. Thanks, Protein Rebel, for bringing us home. Whether you're training to get a PB, or you could be training for your first ultra, or maybe even hoping to get an all-county tops age group category win, Protein Rebel products are easy to digest with no artificial additives, providing both performance and overall health benefits. If you would like to try Protein Rebel, and use the code TEA10 for 15% off your first order. And to celebrate the partnership between Protein Rebel and the Tea and Trails podcast, we're giving one lucky person the chance to win a 600 gram tin of Accelerate protein powder, 100 gram tin of Run Easy collagen, a 100 gram tin of Power Up magnesium, 9 Maple Ignite maple syrup gels, 1 Tea and Trails hoodie, 1 Tea and Trails tech tee, 1 Tea and Trails bobble hat. That is an incredible.
You can't enter. Just
I didn't run it past you, actually, the Tea and Trails. Apologies for that. Your inbox wasn't working. What can I do? I thought you were privy to all these emails.
Oh, Gary, my inbox is always working. Baby cakes.
To be in the running for this incredible prize, pop over to Instagram. All you got to do is like the post, share the post to your stories, follow Tea and Trails and Protein Rebel. And in the comments, say what is your bucket list race. Terms and conditions apply. This competition will close at midnight on the 31st of March 2025. This competition is for UK residents only. It's only available on Instagram. The winner will be contacted by direct message. Quiet a week for Edwina.
Quiet a week. We started the week, Gary. Do you know what I started my week with? A rest day.
What is that witchcraft?
What is this we hear you say? I walk the dogs. It is unusual, but because I didn't get back late till Sunday night, and then I had to work Sunday night, and then Monday I stayed in my pajamas till about 9:30 in the morning. Gary, what a time to be alive, I said to myself. So this week I will do my workout a little bit later on in the week, but spoilers, guys, if you can't wait to know how I feel good now. That rest day has worked, so will hopefully fit in all the non-negotiables. And we've got sports stuff, but it is slowly calming down as the game season is over. But yeah, I'm not going away, and that always hangs over my head slightly when I'm going away or do something, because I still struggle leaving the kids, Gary.
Yeah, that'll never end.
Do you think when I'm an adult, when they're adults, I'll still be like, can you come home, please? Can you come home? It was so cute when I came home. They were waiting. They were hiding in the garden, and they'd built this den, and I had to it's up this bank behind the house, and so they built these steps so that I could get up. I was like, wait. And I had to have the full tour of this den. It was so sweet, but I was like, oh my god, is there tea making facilities in this den? So yeah, a quieter week. I'll try and hit all the non-negotiables, do my session, do my long run, but nothing exciting. But sometimes those weeks are the best weeks, eh? No rest for you. No rest for me.
Grinding away. It's very boring. Maybe a mower's trip or a lakes trip Thursday. Fingers crossed this episode is all done. Otherwise, I'll have a bit of stress hanging over me.
Well, you're not going. You do realise this. Like, I'm going to have to start putting some sort of padlock on your... I'll talk to Lisa.
On my trainers. But yeah, I'll be doing 2 workouts, I think. One is quite a long session, actually, on the treadmill, and the other is hills.
Is it something I did 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Probably,
that you're recreating? Yeah.
I think it's not the hills. I think it's flat on the treadmill, but it's reducing the duration of the rep. It might be like 15, 10, and then 5, but getting faster and faster and faster. I'm not 100% sure.
Somebody put something on Facebook saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 Gary session.
I probably invented that.
You probably invented that.
And then some hills. Haven't done some like short. I think they're like 10 times 2 minutes or 10 times 1 minute or something really short and sharp. Yeah, I'm not too sure. Moors or lakes. Depends on the weather. If it's not looking so fun times up on the high fells, then we'll go to the moors. I'm going to apologise in advance. I'm away for a few days next week. Episode 113, not 112, not this episode. Episode 113 will be a little bit...
You better tell John Zink, because he's the one that's on it. When it's not out, he'll be very upset.
He's on the Freddos. Do you see that? Everyone's on the Freddos now.
It's sensational. Oh my gosh. Lucy gave us some sort of out-of-date Christmas chocolates that she'd found, and that repeated itself for a couple of hours. They weren't Freddos.
How can they be out of date? Does chocolate
They
really
weren't.
go
I
out
just
of date?
whined about it. I just whined about it, and I didn't like the taste of that.
Problem is, my little nutrition bin is just arm's reach over there.
Oh, mine is in the back. Mine's in with the Hoover and the mop. Oh my God.
Empty, though. It's
Gary.
empty. There's nothing in it. Yeah, it's dangerous having too many Freddos.
I have a box. And anything like the kids don't like, I just stick in the box so I can just grab it. But it's sealed. It's out the back.
Peanut M&Ms, precision fuel hydration,
No, I couldn't
Freddos.
I couldn't have that within an arm's length. I didn't tell you I've given up Instagram. You know, I don't go on Insta. I try and really be strict and not scroll and roll. I'm not allowed to look at it till Easter Day. I've given it up for Lent, Gary.
I've not done anything. That's such a good idea.
36% my screen time went down last week from not being on Instagram. I don't have time for that, Gary, but I also have no self-control because once I start watching reels of puppies jumping into swimming pools...
Just burn time. It does burn cooking.
It's time.
Little cooking reels get me. Could be anywhere in the world. Some little dude.
They make chickpeas look so good. And you know it's all
chopping garlic
lies.
on a log with a big knife. I can just watch hours.
Is it a guy in a
hours.
tartan flannel shirt?
Anything will do.
Garlic.
People slipping over on their steps when they kind of come out of their home. And
It's such a waste of time. I thought, right, come on, even though I enjoy it, and that's why you should give up things for Lent. The kids are giving up fizzy drinks because they're allowed a fizzy drink on a Saturday night. That's how we rock and roll in Scotland.
so they have
they're not.
one fizzy drink a week and they've given it up. Oh, poor kids.
Poor kids, you joking? Sutton kids live the life of Riley. They can get away without that. Don't send me reels of cute puppies on Instagram, please, because I'll never see them.
Good luck to everyone out on the trails and share your stories and pics over on Facebook. Tag us in Instagram too. I'll be able to
Gary
see
is
them.
in charge. Gary is in charge of good times. on
We love
Instagram.
seeing what you're all up to.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Please share this episode. Don't forget, we did this. We made ourselves laugh oh my gosh, Gary, it's been too long. A couple of years ago by suggesting people could go and introduce the podcast to. Do you remember? And it was the chicken shop lady or something. We were like, gosh, go in the chicken shop.
Me, yeah.
We thought we were so funny. Anyway, go in your local chicken shop and say, do you listen to I did that a few times when we were running because we saw lots of runners out. What are you listening to? It's Tea and Trail Split. Give me a phone. Anyway, tell a friend. We've digressed again. Tell a friend. Pop over to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, subscribe, or even consider becoming one of our awesome Patreons. Thanks to X Miles Precision Fuel Hydration, Phoenix Light UK, Harrier Trail Running, Protein Rebel, and SHOKZ for sponsoring this week's show. Here come the codes. Hannah, this is for you and your broken shocks. T10 for SHOKZ, T15 for Protein Rebel, T Trails 10 for X Miles, T Time 2025 for Precision Fuel Hydration, and T10 for Harrier Trail Running. Thank you to our partners and Patrons. We couldn't do this without you and your ongoing support.
My tummy just rumbled.
Well, we've been on Zoom for, I think, 25
nearly
hours.
2 hours, yeah. Let the trails rise to meet you and the wind always be on your back. Be kind to your future self. Breathe and believe, and progress, not perfection. My name is Gary Thwaites.
Can I tell you one more story? So sorry, this is really good. It's about breathe and believe. So one of my athletes I coach, she's a coach as well, and she coached somebody to the under 20, I'm going to get this wrong, but an under 20 qualifying standard for indoor athletics, international, and she told him before the race, she sent me a picture, he's running 400 meters indoors on a track, that is so hard anyway. She said to
I can't
him,
imagine that.
breathe and believe. Yeah, we've gone international. Anyway, sorry. His name's Gary Thwaites. I'm Eddie Sutton. And that was episode 112 of the Tea and Trails podcast. I just blown Gary's mind by reading that. He's so angry. It's all over, guys. That's the end of the podcast forever.